Well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Fridays at 1:30. Today we're here to talk about the summer education program and some of the experiences that we all had, and maybe give some reasons as to why it's a great opportunity to learn and travel and gain a nice design sense for other cultures.
So the books in front of you, half of them are from our trip last summer, and half of them are just from older years, ranging back to 2010.
It's essentially they're all the culmination of our trip together. So you pick something to research or study. You make a book at the end to show your work.
Yeah, so going into this trip, first of all, I didn't know a single person. I was very intimidated. I was like, what's this gonna be like? I have no idea. The first day we got there, we all did every day we did a group dinner, and that was the group activity. And even after the first day, it felt so much more comfortable. We were in a brand new place. We had all just traveled to Lisbon. We were playing pool and doing things together, and it was it felt like a real group. And we all knew after that first day, it was gonna be a great time. And so, I mean, in front of you are just examples of some of the drawings that you can come up with, when you're going and seeing other places. I mean, like I just said, it's really about the experience of going somewhere new, seeing all these different landscapes. I mean, a lot of the places that we went to are older than America by a lot. So understanding that these walkable cities are 600, 700, 800 years old. The stones that you're standing on are placed so long ago, and understanding the magnitude of all of those things, it's just not something that you really get to appreciate in America. So it's all about these new experiences. I had never seen a curved walkway like that on the bottom picture. I had never seen a lot of these things, and still when you go there, you're able to study the material, you're able to study the texture, the form, all of these things. And it's really nice because you go with other groups of students. You're not just with landscape architecture students. I mean, with us, there was a lot of interior students, there was a couple architecture students, and every night after dinner, we would all compare drawings and things like this. And you get to see how everybody else draws. You just get to, pick and choose what styles you like, if certain type of shading or texturing, and your drawing grows immensely in a short amount of time. It's a really great opportunity to keep practicing drawing and just get a lot more comfortable with drawing in any situation. So just walking around and sitting at a park bench, when's the last time you remember doing that and sketching something for 5 minutes? You do that 10 times a day, and it's practice and practice and practice. It makes you so much better at drawing by the end. So yeah, just drawing things like this, going to places and trying to understand how things work. I mean, for a lot of us, this is the first time seeing a fountain that is probably over 20 acres, a fountain system, something like that. Trying to understand the infrastructure of these places, because in Europe, where we went at least, they showed water a lot more in the landscape. There's so many different elements that interacted with the everyday, the places that we were in, and it's not like here where everything's just hidden under the concrete road and you just drive to work and home. I mean, you're really in the environment, and so being able to slowly walk past and use your own leisure instead of being on a quick schedule to get somewhere is really, really nice to be able to just sit back and look at these things and try and comprehend them. So yeah, it's another example. After this drawing was at the very end of the time we had there, and this is kind of inspired from a couple of the architecture students that we went with. I was not drawing types of form, perspective lines, all of these things. I wasn't using them consistently. And then when you get to the end, it's kind of like a culmination of all the things you really enjoyed about other people's work and put them together into your own pieces. And it really feels like it's awesome to just go through that transformation. So it's kind of you flip back and forth, it's kind of what it looks like. And then last but not least, of course, we did a lot of fun things. So it's great to walk around and you have your own leisure. So it's only group projects or group outings. once a week, something like that. It's not really scheduled every day you're doing something. You have the leisure to do the research, see what you like, and go. And so, I saw many chateaus, we went to a zoo, we went to so many art museums, like things that you like to do. It doesn't even have to be the group. You'll find 2 or 3 people who are interested in similar things, and you go off with them one day. And then the next day you see, oh, maybe I want to do something else with a different group of people. And you get these different lenses because, some of the kids are interiors, some are, industrial design, all of this stuff. And then last but not least, the food. It's pretty hard to even suggest that American food is close to European food. I mean, it's much more organic, the water is so much better, everything tastes so much better. You'll just have to see for yourself.
I actually do have a full slide of food coming up. If you're curious. So these are just a few pictures that I really took. I have, no lie, over 4,000 photos from this trip, so any excuse to put them all up and show someone, I will take. Each one literally has a story behind it, so if you're ever curious, I will definitely send you all 4,000 if you want, with all their stories. But like Marcel said, we went with a lot of architecture and ID students, and something that I really found beneficial was the way I drew. Those of you in my studio, not a lot of these seem like a Haley drawing or like how I usually draw, and it's mainly because we were with architecture and ID students, so I really got to practice this fine line thing that I didn't really do very often, and totally improved on how I drew. And specifically down here, we went on a few excursions, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit later, where ID students ran sort of a drawing workshop with all of us, and architecture students ran drawing, and so did landscape. And Terry actually, she went and taught all of us ID students, architecture students, sort of this section thing that I got really into, sort of like a 360 section of the area. And so there's a lot of really bad ones that I did that don't make a lot of sense, but there's some that I do really like, and it was interesting. I sort of did this overlaying thing a lot. So now I'm going to nerd out a little bit. I just want to tell you guys some fun experiences that I personally had. If you're familiar with Game of Thrones, I am. I love it. And actually, on my birthday, or our birthday, we went to where Dorne was filmed, and I got really excited. And so these are pictures from the show, obviously, Pedro Pascal, which is important to know that he was where I was. And then these are pictures that I took, including Garrett hugging a bush, but that's fine. It actually ended up becoming part of my study. I was studying playscapes and like what encourages play. And Garrett hugging a bush actually inspired a whole thing of touch and what encourages people to touch what and textures and things like that. Yeah, so that's like the whole fountain in that picture. I could talk about this forever, but it was incredible. Another really great experience I had was actually randomly one day. Terry went as well, and those of you that know Martha in ID, we ran into them on the street, and she was like, yeah, we're going here. That's literally what happened. The picture on the map just pointed to it. We were like, all right, sure. And we met at the bus stop, and we thought we were just going into a town and to see some cool things. This was the view from the bus. We drove through a mountain, and I couldn't figure out how to put videos that would actually play in here, but the videos I took, it was the craziest thing ever. We all got off the bus and went, oh my God, did you see that? I don't even think we wanted to just get back on the bus again. But it was really crazy, and that's something I really learned to appreciate about this trip is because, as Marcel said, it's not super structured, you have your own time to do things, you accidentally run into this, and the town itself was very cool. Not as cool as the bus ride there, and that was not something I would have expected to say, but it was really, really awesome. So again, I have some other just really fun pictures. They all totally have a story. We got to go on a boat ride in Faro, which was incredible, see the beaches. That skull we went to was a chapel, temple?
Bone Chapel.
Bone Chapel. I hated it. It was terrifying, but cool, I guess, to see. Yeah, Sagrada Familia, again, beautiful. Many of us cried, myself included. Couldn't tell you why. It was just so pretty. And then, last but not least, just to get you guys a little excited, is the food that I ate because it was so good. And it's very important to note that I ate all of that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but my two friends and I that I became very close with, we had that pizza that she has on that top row. We had that 6 or 5 days in a row. Every single day we were in that one town, we had that pizza every day.
Those of you that know Alex Straub, he left after dinner to go get that pizza after eating dinner. Again, and then he went again that night later, I think. It was really good.
Okay, so if you're like me and going on this trip, you're probably gonna have a lot of questions. So if any of you don't get your questions answered today and want to like know more, just text me or email me or come to any of our desks. We'll be happy to answer anything. So a little bit about what I did was I focused on the materiality of Western Europe and kind of, I'd never been to Europe before, so I wanted to see like what makes up the materials of Europe and like what patterns I could find in things. And one thing I really liked that I started doing was drawing patterns that you couldn't really see as you're walking, but as you draw them and plan, you start to understand them more. Like this one in the bottom left, it's kind of like the Fibonacci sequence that Dennis Carmichael was talking to us about last week. And so you're probably wondering why there's a dinosaur for studying built environments, but it turns out in Spain and Madrid, turns out like they find a lot of dinosaur bones when they data for sites. And also they have to have archaeologists when they date a new site because they often find Roman ruins, and that causes problems for putting a building on top of. And also you'll find some really cool plans and models everywhere you go. If you like castles, I love castles. You're gonna see some castles. We also did a day hiking trip through the Sierra Nevada mountains in Granada, which was really cool. They had hanging bridges and waterfalls. We went on a day trip in Barcelona, which is in the bottom right picture, up into the mountains where there was a monastery.
That was also a very scary bus ride.
Yeah, it was.
Right on the edge.
It was also cool because I'd never seen mountains like that. And I remember we saw those when we were going there on the train. I was like, what are those? Also food. I love meat, crepes, everything. I'd never seen so many different types of ham before. I went to
Spain.
mainly Spain. Bridges, there were so many different types of bridges. There was this one park in Madrid where they had probably 10 different bridges, and each of them were different architecture and have a different sense of place in it everywhere you go. One thing about our meetings before dinner, we all display what sketches we drew that day. Like for this one on the bottom left was on a pool table. We can't always find places to hold 20 sketchbooks and people, so sometimes we'd be like in plazas, on the ground, on pool tables, in the lobby of a hotel or hostel. It's kind of cool though. And then we didn't go to Athens, but I did. So one really cool thing about this trip is that it gives you the opportunity to do more. So like about half the people that went ended up going different places after the trip ended because you're already in Europe, so why not? So I went to Greece and then actually did an internship for 6 months after, which I would not have been able to do if I did not go on this trip.
You gotta explain that a little bit more, Nick.
But like I didn't take classes in this past fall because the 6 credits that you get from this study abroad replaced your studio credits, and because I had extra credits from like AP classes and high school and stuff, that let me just not take this past fall semester, so I just did an internship instead in Charlotte.
But what he said about those flights also, I mean, in Europe, when you're already there, it's like $30-40 to go to another country. And I mean, even a train ride also, their train system is so much more suitable that you can go for, $20-30 again, you get like a 3-hour train to a new city. It's awesome.
Yeah, so like when I went to Greece, and then it was like $20-30 to take a ferry to each island, so you just hop between each island, and then the flight to Greece was like $100 from France. These are just some group pictures that we have, kind of showing more about like where we're meeting and like how we're sketching in the field. And the bottom left was this exercise that Haley was talking about. So we had a couple industrial design students that started showing us how to draw more from the industrial design perspective. So they had us draw a trash can, And after that, a lot of us just started drawing random objects using industrial design methods, just like drawing napkin holders and
Those of you
animals.
that have my sketchbook, you might be able to see some horrible trash cans, but they're in there.
But yeah, do you guys have any questions about anything? I mean, that's what we're here for, is to try and get you guys informed about what this can be. So if any of you have anything, be happy.
We can talk about this, I think, forever.
Yeah,
So,
and show 1,000 pictures.
Yeah.
And then you also, you talk about why did you choose to go, because you had options.
Absolutely. Well, either going to go first?
I mean, I personally think travel is really important. I think all of us share that went abroad. But I also don't know what I want to do, what I want to study, what is interesting to me. And I really enjoyed that you picked your own study with this, so you picked something to look at. I did go in thinking I was studying something completely different, and then switched to sort of playscapes and stuff. But that, I mean, completely opened my eyes to what I might want to do in the future, which is what I was hoping would happen. Yeah, I was just looking for some direction, some finding myself, in Europe situation, and I think I got it.
And I think, like, for me, it was like partly, I had never been to Europe, and I had no idea what like the landscapes of Europe were, and these landscapes are thousands of years old and have been working for so long, and I wanted to see them, understand them, and I think now like understanding how like just a fraction of these places can really help with my future career. And also like compared to the other options, there's taking a couple classes in the fall or doing the studio in Alexandria. But I think like one of the biggest parts was that I had the option to not take classes in the fall and do that internship, and that really helped.
It really does depend where you stand. Like, so Nick here most likely didn't have to pay for the credits because he did this abroad program. One of the other options that you can do is to do an internship and get credit for it. But you pay the school and you don't get paid from an internship. So that one was like, no, it made no sense for me, at least personally. And then like the independent study, it was between that and this, and I mean, when else do you have an excuse to go somewhere new? Like, it's really like, you can go on vacation to all of these places, but when are you going to be in a place with 20 or 30 like-minded people experiencing a landscape through the lens of design? Like, you don't, whenever you're going to a city, you're not just going to walk around and be thinking like, oh, I want to sketch this, like, how does this work? Like, no, you're probably going to be like, oh, I want to go get some food, like, let's go see an attraction or something. Like, but when we went on this trip, it was not that, and it was wonderful because of it. It was a great experience.
And if you're like me, I'm not that great at drawing, but being on this trip just forced me to draw more. And like being out in places drawing rather than just looking at a picture.
Also, just drawing every day and then discussing it. Like Marcel said, you might sketch when you go into a city here in America on your own or whatever, but you don't get a daily discussion where you have to explain your work. And we did a lot of these like sketchbook like layouts on the tables, and sometimes like your work would have to stand on your own. You needed to show what you meant with that drawing by what you were putting out on the paper without explaining it. And that for me is something I really struggled with before this trip. But then after, we passed around the sketchbook sometimes, my drawings needed to make sense to not just landscape architectures, but ID students as well. So that's why some of those section drawings that I was like trying to do, I know ID students looked at it and went, what is this? And I was like, yeah.
Well, another really nice thing about the trip was it was kind of a nice break from like a lot of technology. Like, we weren't on our phones every day all the time trying to like, look at social media or something like this. If we were on our phone, we were looking at a map or taking pictures, and like it was really about like being outside, enjoying the place that you were in, and not as much just trying to check out what other people are doing or anything like that. So it was a nice mental break in that way as well.
Like you said, I have 4,000 pictures. I think maybe 5 of them are like me in it. Like, no Instagram got posted. Like, none of them are pretty pictures.
Also, it's like I liked how you just become uncomfortable here, but then you kind of force yourself out of that. Like you, at first, you might feel like you're weird sketching something, that like sitting on a bench or just walking around sketching, but then you just start to like not care and just see these places differently.
Get to be that mysterious art person in the park. Just kind of embrace it. Any questions? Yeah.
Where was your favorite place?
Ooh.
Like,
I mean, like-
like
I'll let them
city
go
or
first. Yeah, city for sure.
Oh, city. Oh, not place. Oh, God.
So I guess I'll go first. We went to Nimes, and I speak a little bit of French, so I really found myself at home there. But the day that we arrived, there was something called the Day of International Music, and so it's like this small like town that's pretty quaint, has a bunch of like Roman ruins. It's an old Roman town in the middle of like, it's like a regional center in France, so it's not huge, but it's not tiny. And it was just all over the streets, just parades of people marching, playing music, like all different types, everything, like jazz.
We went into an orchestra.
Yeah,
It was like in the
orchestra,
street.
everything. It was incredible.
Like, it was very confusing.
And it was my birthday.
Yeah.
Nimes was also a really nice break. This trip is very fast paced. We go from city to city very quickly, which is great in its own way. But Nimes had this very relaxed feeling. It wasn't a big city. There wasn't a million things that you felt like you needed to see. And it was just very like, oh, okay. And the food there was really good.
also a Coliseum.
Yeah. I also had food poisoning, but I think it's still my favorite place.
What about you guys? Where would you say your favorite was?
Oh, Nimes was my favorite.
Yeah, I think Seville was fun. Spain. They had the mushrooms. I don't know if you were picture.
Oh, the gold.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. I think you have like a hat picture of
There's
it.
a half picture. Well,
It's like, these are the mushrooms he's talking about,
it
and
was
that's
like
a
it's
bit
the
nice.
largest wooden structure in the world, and it's just called Las Setas, which means mushrooms in Spanish. And you can go up there, and for nighttime they turn on the lights, and like it has changing colors, and it goes from like blue and red, and you see the sunset up there. It's really cool.
We finessed that too, because they had two different tickets. They had a nighttime light show ticket, and then they had the sunset. And I'm very glad we went for the sunset. The pictures do not do it justice. It's gorgeous. Also, most of the cities we went to have this really nice, consistent color palette. So when it comes to sunsets, it's like the most satisfying, like aesthetically pleasing thing in the entire world. And seeing it from that high up was crazy. But then we just stayed for the light show.
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, like there are not a lot of group activities we do together, but I mean, a lot of what you're paying for are some of those experiences. Like on that far left side, Sagrada Familia is one of those things where it's like we're only doing stuff together once a week, but when we're going to one of the most amazing chapels in the entire world, and each ticket is like $35, you have to buy them months in advance, like that is the kind of group outing that you want to go to. It's not like something meaningless or, you know, it's like something that's actually really important and interesting.
Who here is going this summer?
Or wants to.
Yeah, or
I don't know if you guys know
wants
yet. Nice, good. Great, cool. Huh?
You gotta talk about this. So there was that ahead.
Ben.
Oh, yeah.
I just was curious what advice you would give to people going this year or even the following year, from sort of a personal perspective, and getting ready with the case what you do, what are the logistics area,
Versatile clothing. I fell into the packing outfits more than just these pants will go with every shirt that I have. That's a way better way to do that. Yeah.
Also, just like make sure to research the places before you go. I know we had meetings, I think once a month or once every 2 weeks with Terry before we went, where it was like research each city a little bit, see what kind of culture they have, what kind of food, and then you can take it a step further and be like, you can do like, oh, maybe I want to do one thing today. Like you can plan out 1 or 2 activities per day. And that way you're not rushed at all, but you also know that you're going to see something that you're interested in. So you find this balance of like leisurely enjoying places that you are interested in.
Yeah. Know where you want to go, know how much it costs, and know how to get there. That was a big issue. I think a few of us, I'll say just myself personally, failed a little hard on the planning side of things. I ended up doing some really cool stuff because I didn't plan, but there was definitely, we were in so many cities for such a short period of time that I did leave some going, oh, I should have seen that, I wish I saw that. But we would be sitting on the train going to the city, and I'd be like, oh, I want to see this. And then I'd be like, oh, but it's like a bus, and then like a taxi, and then like the Uber ride, it's like 40 minutes away. Like I didn't plan how to get there. I was just thinking, oh, we're in Barcelona. It'll be cool. I could walk. No, just know how to get there, and like plan sort of that. And that'll get easier once you know the group that's going, because you can go, oh, hey, I'm interested in going to this place. Are you too? And then you can kind of figure it out in a big group.
And transportation gets easier as you go. Like,
Sure.
when you start with like bigger groups and feel more comfortable with them. Once you get used to it, you start going out less and less people on your own, doing your own things.
I mean, I found some of my best days were the days where I just left everybody else and just went on my own and spent my time doing me. And there was one girl who was named Adeline, who did every single thing in every single city and was just like on the move, fully prepped out. It was insane. So there's like a
15 miles a
spectrum.
day.
Like she did everything, and like, you know, I didn't, like Ava said, I didn't get to go to everything that I wanted, but it was still like
Yeah.
really nice.
She knew the bus system somehow right away before she researched on research. She'd come back for those meetings and she'd be like, yeah, I saw this today, I saw this today, I saw this today. We were like, where, how? She's like, I went to a different city. We're like, oh, okay.
But also, like, you're in big cities, you're not gonna see everything. So
Yeah.
like, you can spend more time in like the places that have focus on just seeing everything.
But yeah, any more questions?
There's some other people here too that went on the trip, so if you go and ask questions now or you want to talk to someone about it, just like chill with people right there. Also were on the trip.
Smile and wave, boys.
That was our trip.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There was another question.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah.
What do you get graded on if it's for studio, like a studio?
So that book is essentially like the culmination of what you studied. You do that in the fall. So the following, these were due in the October, which is great because it takes a while to process everything you saw for sure. And I know some people who thought they were studying one thing, looked back at their sketchbooks and were like, oh, I think I was studying something else, and changed it. But that's essentially what you're doing.
It's also partly like every night when we have these meetings, it's
Right.
like on like your discussion. And,
Yeah, that's your studio. Yeah.
And if you spend the whole trip just not showing up to meetings or doing nothing, it's gonna affect your grade. And also, we did a poster and exhibition in the lobby in the fall.
But the books are also, like, I printed my book out twice because we have to
Yeah.
give one to the school, but I kept mine also. Like, it's the first time we actually made a book like that, so it was really cool.
Did you like, you might have already said this, but did you go in with like expectation of what you wanted to like study?
Yeah, so we have meetings before you go on the trip with the group that's going. And like you guys said, we do like research and things like that, and then you give ideas. But Terry's very adamant about it's going to change, and I think for almost everyone it totally did. I mean, I was way off what I thought I was going to be studying. But yeah, so you like throw out ideas, you'll have a good idea. You'll usually get one before you go on the trip, but that'll change.
I mean, it's also like what naturally you pay attention to. It's not even like going in with the intention of studying this. It's like what draws your eye normally. Like one of the industrial design students or one of the architecture students was literally only drawing like skylines, like for like a week. Was just like looking up at where the sky meets the top of the buildings and was just drawing that. And so like it's not that she came in with that intention, but it was what was interesting to her in the moment. So
There's a lot of things that you just like walk around with your sketchbook, you're like, I want to draw that. Like it doesn't have anything to do with what I think I'm studying, but I want to draw that. Which is why, like after the trip, you might look at your sketchbook and go, well, I drew all of this one theme, but this is not what I thought I was going to be studying. So then you switch it up a little bit.
I'll answer your question a little because I also went abroad. I literally changed my topic like 20 times before I actually picked it, and I don't think I came up with a final like what I was researching until I like actually made my book. Yeah, and I think one of the best things that Terry said is that you don't know what you don't know. And so I think that's a really nice way to kind of allow yourself to be open to explore the things that you don't even know what you're going to find. And it's a really cool way to learn that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are talking pretty positively overall about your experience, which is great. But I was wondering if there was anything negative that you guys came across during your time out there, or if there were some inconveniences that maybe bothered you for a while about the places that you visit, or what kind of experiences you had like that.
I could definitely take this one. So I made a couple, let's just call them unfortunate decisions while I was there, and not even like bad on my behalf, just a lapse in judgment. So I went out a few nights with some of my friends not with our program, and I decided it would be a great idea to walk home at I think it was 4 a.m. Alone, and that call an Uber.
Don't do that.
Call an Uber. That's the only thing I'm going to say, but that it's always safer. You don't know you're in a new place. You don't know what happens there. It just so happens that there was a full street in Barcelona where it's phone shop after phone shop. They hire people to go steal people's phones, bring them back to the shop, cut it up, and then they resell it again and again and again. It's a business. And I learned that the hard way. So just Uber is what I'm going to say.
You're tourists in a new city, so just be careful.
I would say too, I don't know how to say this without it sounding like awful, because I don't mean it to sound awful, but I think managing your expectations is always a good idea. I think like I said, I left some cities not seeing some things, or like when we were in Nimes, I loved that city. I literally had food poisoning, but it was killing me because I wanted to be out there, but I definitely could not be. And so it's just like managing that like guilt of not doing everything. Or there were a few days, and I think all of us experienced it, it's a very fast trip. You are moving around a lot, you're doing a lot all the time. You run out of steam sometimes. Like it'll hit you and you're like, right before we went to the mountain town, when we ran into Terry and Martha, me and one of the ID students were on our way to get ice cream at 10 a.m. because we were just sad, missing home. We were like, all right, we're gonna get ice cream. And then we had the coolest day ever. But it's just little things like that. Like I said, a lot of us just walked around and went on our own without a plan some days. And that's great. Sometimes I saw the coolest things ever. Sometimes I didn't. I saw a little green space on a map and I was like, oh, this will be a really cool park. And then it kind of wasn't. It was lame, and it was just a little bit disappointing because you're like, oh, that was like an hour-long walk for nothing. So it's just like sort of understanding that that's going to happen and just not letting that affect sort of your overall mood for the day or trip. Like you're still in Europe. You still went to a park. Like it's still not a wasted day. But that sort of process, I think I struggled with.
We all got sick at least once on that trip.
Yeah.
So just keeping track of your health is a very big thing.
Yeah.
No COVID.
No COVID,
No
just
COVID,
other
no
random
COVID.
assorted
Yeah.
sicknesses.
Yeah, bring medicine.
Yeah.
If you have allergies.
Bring sunscreen.
Yeah, and
Bring
sunscreen.
sunscreen.
Sunscreen's huge.
Yes.
Wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
Someone
Comfortable
has those pictures
shoes.
too, if you want to see those pictures, I have them. They're part of my 4,000. Yeah.
You also get very close to people on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, we stayed in hostels with like 8 of us in the room.
Like, and there's industrial design students, architecture. You'll meet some new people too.
Yeah.
And also, just don't go out with the same people every day. Like,
That's a big one.
if you start in a group, just go to a different group and then just like talk to like new people.
It's especially cool going out with, like, walking around the cities with people from different majors because they'll notice different things that the landscape architect wouldn't necessarily notice.
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, I never saw that.
But then they also notice things that like, we wouldn't notice about landscapes too.
Cool. And I like when we went to the same places because we would each draw different things in the exact same place. Like that. It's a tiring trip. You'll get tired. But then there's a 3-hour train ride that you sit on, so it's fine. Fine.
Does anybody else have like any questions about the trip? All right, well, thank you guys for coming with us today. I don't want to take up too much of y'all studio time, but yeah, again, I hope you guys consider going here on
It
this
was
trip.
yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
100% worth it.